A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu.
With the $5 meal deal at McDonald's, you pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Price and participation may vary. For a limited time only.
Ask me. Ask Iliza anything. It's time to ask. Ask me all your questions. Leave them in the Instagram comment section. Leave them on your Twitter or leave them on your Facebook. We'll see them. We'll read them. Then we'll give you answers. You know it. I've got it. I've got the answer. The answer. You ask me. I'll tell you anything. That's right. You're asking me things. And today, you get to ask my mom things. So it's like me, concentrate. Joining me today is my mother, Ronnie Antik, everybody. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
Hi, there you are. I appreciate. I was so excited. I was like, oh, you dressed up for this. And then you said,
I'm going to dinner right after. Sorry.
okay. Well, I thought that was very cool, but okay, fair enough.
I thought you'd see me on this.
What are you drinking?
Iced tea in a wine glass. Makes me think I'm drinking.
Oh, you're a proponent for the before dinner cocktail.
Yeah, they call them roadies or dressers. Roadies have one on the way, and dressers have one while you're getting dressed. I'm not a proponent of that. That's just too much drinking.
I don't like drinking while I'm getting ready because I feel like I start to look weird in the mirror. It's hard to do my makeup.
Yeah, you probably do. You probably do.
Well, people have a lot of questions. Now, prior to doing this, you said to me, you're like, I don't want to answer questions about raising you because it's enough already. Okay. Also, not only was it so long ago, but I think the subtext of that is there's more to you than just answering questions about me, right?
Not so much. Yeah, that's kidding.
Oh,
no. But no, there's more to me, but who else cares? They would care about it.
A lot of people care. A lot of people want some of that straight talk mom advice, so we're going to jump right in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Aubrey Hauser writes in, hi, Iliza, Ronnie, and Tianfu. Most importantly, Tianfu, sleeping at my feet. Big fans here. Looking for advice on convincing my mother-in-law to sell her parents' house instead of trying to fix it up and potentially make more money on it. For context, she has cancer and just about to get surgery to try and get it out. And her husband have recently taken in 2 children from a niece who couldn't take care of them, 8 and 10 years old. The surgery could possibly give her another year, but me and my boyfriend and plenty of other family think her time after the recovery would be better spent with all of us than putting in work on a house that would be too much for her. Also, they're trying to do all the work themselves, and they're both in their late 60s. Whenever anyone tries to bring up the subject in a conversation, she refuses to even discuss it.
Okay, a couple of things are happening here. We don't know what you're saying. It's a surgery, and she only has a year left. So that's one issue. 2 is if you only have a year left while she's quote unquote only in her late 60s. Prior to this situation, she could very well have done this and had the energy. But if she really has just a year left, it sounds like she's doing this to leave something more for everyone else.
Oh,
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because if she sells the house now, the only thing she has to do is recuperate for a year and then die. And so I think she's thinking of it unselfishly. It gives her something to do.
Something to do.
That would be important at the end, because how many questions can you sit and ask her in the whole year that you'll visit her sometimes?
I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're taking away her joy, her meaning. If she wants to do that, knowing she's going to die, that's her. You can't take that away from her.
You can't take that away from. I also think there's something interesting, as we get older as kids, there's your parents being these omniscient beings, and then you start to realize your parents are human, and then eventually you have to take over for your parents. And so there's always that gray area too of like, do I know better than my parents? And we talk a lot about social issues and politics on this show, and it always bothers me. Your parents might have a different political view from you, but treating your parents like they didn't walk this earth for several years before you, like, oh my God, my parents are so dumb. I always think that that's a little ignorant.
Can you get me clear? Who are these nieces and nephews that are they staying at the house of the woman who has cancer? Is that even part of that?
I don't know.
They're staying there.
We got to move on.
Because obviously she said it was okay.
Megan Kelsch. Do either of you have recommendations for the best way for millennials to communicate with their parents about racial injustice, social change, and politics? Generation gaps are so amplified right now, and a lot of older people are resistant to change. It seems like you and Iliza have a great relationship, and wondering if you have any tips for communication around topics that bring out the emotional side of people.
Sure. First of all, don't do it when anybody just gets up.
Don't even call me when I've just gotten up. Don't even ask me how my morning is.
When you're going to have a conversation, just don't rip it out of left field. Sit down, talk about other things. And then when you mention these things, never get upset. Because the moment you get upset, you have too much skin in the game for no reason. Because the change is going to come with you, not with them. They're 60, 70. They may vote a different way. Not that big a deal. The greater good here is for them to understand why you feel the way you do. And if in fact you have that conversation and you don't get upset about it, they may tell you why they feel the way they do. They didn't just arrive. They have a life experience that you don't have. And you might want to hear that. They're not all that irrational. I don't know what their opinion is, and I don't know what yours is. I'm assuming a younger generation is always the more liberal one. Winston Churchill always said, if you're a Democrat, if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you have no heart. But if you're not a Republican when you're older, you have no brain. So
you have no money.
You have to balance all of that together and to really get a true picture of what's going on.
I also think it's really interesting, every 30 years we kind of go through similar machinations, and so if your parents were around during the civil rights movement, a lot of the things are echoed now that were started then. And, if you are fortunate to live long enough, you start to see things repeat themselves. And I think it's also good for perspective. Things are so scary now, but they're always scary.
They're always scary.
Right, Mom?
As I told you, Iliza, when my mother and father were dating that time, and all those songs that they sang back then, when a woman got engaged and her fiance went off to war, chances are he wasn't coming back. That was very sad, scary. And then when you consider London during the bombings, my God, you didn't know if you're going to wake up the next day. There was no plumbing. There was no water. People didn't have food. You look at Japan, people were told by Hirohito, eat wood, you need fiber. And we're going, well, we want to go to the beach, so we're going to go out now. You're kidding, right? That's how tough it is for you. You didn't get paid this week. I get it. Everything is relative. But when you consider what they went through, that's nothing. And then you look at the Vietnam War, those that fought. This is nothing. This is like a silent enemy, what we're going through now. So, yeah, as you said, Iliza, every 30 years, something happens, something big. And it does. And what we're going through now is not big yet.
I think also the internet makes it feel so present. It's so in your face, so inescapable, So you have social unrest, you have a disease. The worst is when you have an enemy that you can't take anything out on. It's not a war enemy, it's a disease. And you can get mad at people that don't wear masks, but being frustrated at nature. And every time you wake up, there's, just constant comments on everything about why you're a bad person. So it is constant.
Right. It's a giant, I'm sorry. It's a giant subway wall. And everybody seems to think they have the right to write on it. Whereas back years ago.
Well, some of us are verified. So,
everybody has an opinion. And it's kind of, and now with the internet, I mean, there was that book 1984 where they said Big Brother is watching you. At the end of the day, now we are Big Brother. Each one of us has a phone. Each one of us is taking pictures of stuff that happens. And it's a little scary because that woman that they started calling her a Karen, the one with the dog in the park, I feel bad for her. I mean, she did something stupid, but now the whole world is seeing her, and they're seeing her again and again and again. And it's like, she'll never get a job now. Just like Monica Lewinsky couldn't get a job for 30 years, and nobody saw that. And then you look at, I don't know if you've seen this on the internet yet. There was a guy in Costco, a woman of my age went over and said, you need to be wearing a mask. And he went ballistic. He was about 45. Yeah. He went so crazy and yelling that Costco had to escort him out. And wait for it. He works for my friend. But well, this guy, he's been seen on YouTube 8 million times. This guy is not going to get a job because he misbehaved one time.
I mean, hold on. There's oops, I said a bad word. There's oops, I snapped. And then there's, this is just emblematic of the way that I feel. And freaking out on someone like that. Even the woman, in the park, like she wanted that guy to go to jail for like bird watching. And I think that speaks to a type of person. You're allowed to be afraid of someone. You're allowed to cross the street, but taking it a step further, being like, I'm going to call the cops and say it's a black man.
Yeah. I don't know that
being that,
definitely.
But, we are beyond, no one's allowed to apologize or move on. And it's interesting because I know that in your book club, and I thought this was super cool, you're reading White Fragility. But I think there should be a book called Male White Fragility because women are always, we're irrational and we freak out. Have you ever seen like a middle-aged white man like Brett Kavanaugh like lose their shit? It is terrifying because when white men get upset, they shoot you.
Well, if you see this,
not all of them.
You'll definitely have to go on the internet and see Costco man freaks out because you don't want to.
It gives me agita.
But you don't want to be near him because But in only one thing, in deference to him, he could have just gotten a fight with his wife, lost his job. You don't know what happened when somebody my age just went over and said, "Excuse me, but why aren't you wearing a mask?" And then he went crazy.
Yeah, because it's that thing too. It's like, where does our social responsibility end? Like, should she have said something? Although asking him that, there's no answer he could give that would be right. So really what she was saying was, hey, asshole, put on a mask.
Actually, I don't know what she said because I was in the supermarket a couple of days ago, Publix, which you call Publix, which I think is hysterical.
Well, how could you not?
And I went over to a man. He was wearing a U.S. Navy hat. And he was about 50. I said to him, "Excuse me, I'm just curious. You look normal. Why are you not wearing a mask?" And I said it just that. And he said, "Well, my wife and I wore masks in the beginning, but I looked at the numbers, and in reality, it's such a small percentage of people that get it. And besides," and he said, I understand that really is a small number. A percentage, very small number of people that actually get the disease and a painful, ridiculously small number in relation to the population of people that actually die from it. And so I agree with him on that. Of course, I don't agree with him on the exponential portion, which is tomorrow will be twice as many and be even bigger. So he said that. He said, for one thing, I don't want to wear a mask because I'm breathing in too much carbon dioxide, and that's bad for me. And I said to him, I said, "Excuse me. Okay. First of all, you got doctors in an operating room wearing masks for 8 hours. And I got a feeling they need a lot more mental acuity than you do to buy potatoes in Publix." He goes, "Well, that's true." I said, "And also, are you running track?" And so he laughed. And
how hard are you breathing?
So I said, "No, I get it, though." He said, I still won't get on a plane. So I said, "Okay, so you're calculating your odds." And he said, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing." I said, "You know what?
He's gerrymandering his ethics. That's what he's doing. He's saying when it's a massive inconvenience for me, I won't do it. But if it's something that everyone else, I'll make sure that I'm safe. I won't get on a plane, but I won't make sure people around me are safe while we're going to a communal space." So then
I said, "But
I hope
when you're having a conversation with someone that you don't agree with, you have to stay like that." And I said, "You know what? I get it. And the reason I wear a mask is fear. And it's the same reason I buy health insurance, because something big might happen to me. Not because I might
There you
need
go.
stitches for $200 or I sprained my finger. No,
Right.
it's something big that may happen. That's why.
$200. Where are you getting your stitches?
Well, whatever, you know.
Also, I've never had a surgery, a real one. I've never broken a bone. I get a cold once in a while, but I got corona and I'm very healthy. In fact, I have extremely low blood pressure, as they told me
Low
yesterday.
or low end of normal?
Low in oh my God. She didn't call me an athlete, but she said, "Do you work out?" And I said, "Yes."
Oh, look
And
at
I
you.
said, "Are you asking if I'm an athlete?" And she said, "No, I'm not. Nobody thinks you're an athlete."
Fall has fallen. Winter is on its way. The days are shorter. But just because, they feel shorter. And just because the days feel shorter doesn't mean your to-do list gets any shorter. You still have to power through your busy days. And a great way to do that is with nutritious food from Factor's no prep, no mess meals. At the end of a short day in the fall or the winter, the last thing you want to do is have to cook. Factor has got you covered from breakfast, snacks, dinner, anything in between. Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled, like their chicken Florentine with spinach and garlic chili cauliflower. You bet. That's what I want to make myself at the end of a day where I am exhausted and my husband isn't home. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options you can add on, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. And because Factor meals are chef prepared and dietitian approved, you're going to love not only Factor's meals taste, but also how they support your goals, even if your goal was just making yourself dinner. Head to factormeals.com/Iliza50 and use code Iliza50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code Iliza50 at factormeals.com/Iliza50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. The holidays are here. And for a lot of us, the holidays mean decorating, hosting, celebrating. For me, it means a lot of traveling. And nothing feels better year-round, but especially during the cozy holidays, than a restful night's sleep in soft, luxurious sheets. Boll & Branch's signature sheets are made with the finest 100% organic cotton, and they get softer with every single wash. You already know that I got Boll & Branch this summer when I needed breathable sheets to sleep in, but this holiday season, I'm actually gifting some of my friends and family Boll & Branch's Ultimate Softness Bundle. I get to choose a signature hem sheet set in any color, a signature hem pillow set, and a waffle bed blanket. And they're all getting juniper because I think it's a classy color. This way you know you have something nice to sleep on when you visit. It's the perfect gift for you and them. Gift you and your loved ones a better night's sleep with Boll & Branch. And right now is their best offer of the entire year. For 25% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets, head to bollandbranch.com/Iliza. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND branch.com/Iliza for 25% off. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details. So finally, fall is here. I have been looking forward to it. I have had a hard year in a good way. I had a baby. I have been on a nonstop tour, nonstop traveling, and it's been hot. So I'm looking forward to, of course, pumpkin spice, everything, cooler weather, and slipping into a cozy sweater from Quince. I've talked about Quince before. Quince has beautiful leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim, and so much more. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Dressing expensive doesn't have to be expensive. Their clothing is beautiful, it's durable, it stands the test of time, and it's what I like to call a capsule wardrobe. I got an Italian wool cocoon coat. That's one of those, it's got like a European collar and it covers my butt so I can walk around New York City and not be chilly. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/Iliza for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Iliza to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Iliza.
Arlene _with_y. Hi, Liza, Ronnie, and Emily. My daughter is 13. She recently confided in my sister to say that she had a crush on a girl. She said she hasn't told me because she's afraid I might tell her it's a phase. I would love to accept my daughter no matter what, and I thought she knew this, so I wonder why she still hasn't felt comfortable in telling me this. I'm a single mom, and my sister said that my daughter said her father also knows my ex, and he's a tough love kind of guy. He can be harsh and unkind, so I'm surprised she confided in him. I'm not trying to make this a competition. I just wonder, as a mom, what would you do or say say if you knew your daughter was possibly gay or bicurious or bisexual or confused and didn't want to talk to you about it. We're generally very close and she knows I'm loving and understanding of her emotions. Thanks. Love you all. Arlene with a Y.
Interesting. If you did,
It's always easier to talk to the aunt.
what aunt?
Not
I
the
thought
mom.
it was the husband, the ex-husband.
She told the aunt and the ex-husband.
Oh, well, in that thing, I think I'd sit down and have a talk, and I cry and say, "What's wrong with you? Why didn't you tell me?" No, I'm feeling a little left out here. You told everybody but me. You have to ask yourself, why didn't she tell you? And I think it is one of two things. One, she heard you make a disparaging comment about someone who's gay, or your opinion of her matters more than anybody else's. So if you didn't make any comments about someone who's gay and really search your heart and think about, you might have said something offhanded about Chaz Bono or something, I don't know. But if you didn't do any of those things, you have to just say, you have to know that it's because your opinion counts the most.
Oh, that's why. It's true.
That's what I think.
That's what I think. Yeah. Lexi Lena. Iliza has shared tons of wonderful advice on how to handle parents, mother-in-laws, etc. through points of contention. And I love her dad saying friction makes a pearl. Do you find yourself mostly aligned with her on how to handle conflict, or do you find you take a different approach to picking battles? Maybe another way to ask is, do you ever feel like you have to pick less battles as the mom for the sake of keeping the relationship happy, or do you believe in hashing it out?
With my daughter, or was it in general? What do I say?
I think they mean in general. Let's go in general, because I always talk about how open our relationship is, and I think you pick every battle and die on every hill. So
you need to know where I stand on all of them.
On all things that don't even involve you.
That don't involve me. Yeah, I'll be the person in the background, that little voice goes, "It's me saying this and I think." Hey,
it's me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of important, if you have a good relationship with your daughter or son, that person knows where you stand. You don't have to win the battle. You just have to take your stand on it. And your stand may be on one foot. In other words, you might be pushed over. What are you doing?
I'm looking for the next question. I'm listening, but what's important is that the microphone captures it. I'm looking at your next question. I'm hosting
I'm
a show.
saying that as a parent,
this advice isn't for me.
As a parent, I think it's important that your son or daughter know where you stand on things, and to know that you're also still open to hearing things. You may be a staunch Republican or liberal or something, and your kid may come with another idea. They need to know where you stand. They need to know, for example, you don't think tattoos are okay. Okay, they know where you stand. They might think of that when they go to get one. You give the reasons why you hate it. They're going to do it or not, but at least they know you hate it. That's all. You can't go there and make them take it off. So just this long.
Well, speaking.
Yeah.
But then speaking like a social context, because I'm always an advocate for having a conversation, and because of stand-up, I've gotten really good at putting blinders on and ignoring people. But I don't have a normal work environment, and I tend to not keep people in my life that I have conflict with. So in the vein of that, of the last question, here's this question. Betsy.J.Scott says, hello to my Wednesday friends. How do you put someone or a whole situation out of your mind after you've been emotionally put down? For context, here's a super short summary of my situation. I befriended my neighbor months ago, realized she was incredibly selfish and wasn't worth my time and energy. Totally happens. So I was honest with her when she asked why I was ignoring her. I told her that the friendship was too much for me. I apologized for not being able to give her my time and wished her the best. She didn't take it well. She and her boyfriend, who live in the same apartment building as me, so we see each other often, are incredibly mean to me. What's worse is that she's close friends with my boyfriend's sister and self-proclaimed maid of honor, so I have to deal with her for at least the next few months. My question is about the minutes following her rude comments. Do I make the transition from being hurt to moving on with my day? How do I put it out of my mind? Should I let it affect me? Also, it's a much bigger issue for so many. I know that there are bigger issues for people, racism, homophobia, etc. To clarify, she's my boyfriend's sister's maid of honor, so I have to deal with her until because she's planning their wedding.
So confused.
Love you all. Thank you to Emily for being such a badass manager. Emily's not my manager, but that's fine.
I'm so confused.
So because So basically the question is this. She made friends with a girl. We've all done this. You think someone's going to, and it's a neighbor of hers. You think it's going to be cool. And the person turns out to suck. And then she doesn't want to hang out with her. And the girl's like, why don't you want to hang out with me? And this girl was honest. She's like, I don't know. I guess I think you suck. Now the girl is really mean to her whenever she sees her. So the question is, do you confront them? How do you put it out? Like, what would you do? If you had a, yeah.
Well, first, because you thought honesty was the best policy. But what you did was you smashed her in the face with a hot pie. And
hot.
That's what you
Is
did.
that a thing? Why is it? I've never heard that. A hot pie? Is that just iced tea in that glass?
It's just iced tea. You did just, what you did was really hurtful to her. So that's what you did. And I guess if someone didn't want to be friends with me and they told me why, it wouldn't help me be a better person. It might help me be a better person. But I would be so hurt. So this girl, now she has to do your wedding. What does she have to do?
It's her brother's sister.
The girl.
The point is, it's in the same group of friends, and you have to see this girl knowing you can't backtrack and be like, sorry, I had a bad day. Like, you told her, I think you're a dumb slut and you're annoying.
You didn't really say that, but the fact is, you insulted her very much. And now you expect her to be okay? You just told her she's a piece of shit, really. And now, okay, let's just be friends anyway. You know, it hurt her so much. And now y'all have to be friends. You all have to work together.
I mean, you can tell she's a piece of shit because rather than ignore you, she makes mean comments, which is really sophomoric. So the best you can hope for is just agree to disagree and just try to be cordial. I think all you can do is ignore it since you started the fire.
You know what? I think a little bit of time has to pass. That always has to happen. And then you're going to be together.
And it will happen regardless.
It's a crazy thing with time. But what will happen is you're going to be in a social situation again. So after you've had a drink and she's had a drink, you might ask, can we talk a minute and say, you know what?
But just one drink.
Definitely
just the one.
And then that always softens it a bit. And apologize. Because you didn't like her. She didn't do anything wrong to you. She was.
Also, don't forget that you don't like her. So versus like, okay, let's maybe hang out. You don't like her. I have another option. It's an extreme option.
Kill her? Yeah, no, that's not a good idea.
No. The extreme option is if you think you're better than her.
Move.
What? Yeah, you can move. If you think you're better than her, carry yourself like just ignore it. And if she chirps back at you, just treat her like she's a child. And eventually she'll become so embarrassed that she won't engage if you can handle it.
Yeah.
Just like let her hang herself.
Well, at the end of the day, you're the one, this woman who wrote in, is the one that smashed her in the face with a hot pie. Really?
Hot pie. You're a hot pie.
She really did.
Deliverer.
And that's so that you're the one that owes her an apology at the end of the day. You insulted her. Her way may be this way. She may be selfish. She may be these things. That's her personality. You don't want to be friends, but you don't have to smash her in the face with a hot pie.
You don't have to hot pie.
No hot pieing. Really?
No hot pieing. Anonymous. Hi, Iliza and Ronnie. My mother is obsessed with me bagging a boyfriend. She brings it up whenever the opportunity presents itself. She made it clear she's desperate. I'm 32 and extremely focused on my job and frankly not really interested in dating because I know I'd be a terribly distracted girlfriend because I'm trying to make it in my competitive as fuck industry. So why is my mom getting so concerned that I'm still single? How do I effectively convey to her that boys are not really in my orbit right now and that she should chill? Honestly, it makes me feel somewhat ashamed that I don't have a ring on my finger and that to her, getting married is more important than landing a steady job, buying a house, paying off student debt. You know, being that running gazelle. Mom, it's a joke for my stand-up. Context. I'm not much of a dater. Only dated 4 guys since middle school and none of those relationships lasted past 6 months. I initiated every breakup. My last relationship ended when I was 23. Barring out you being a lesbian.
She's not a lesbian. And even if she were, that was not relevant to the story.
Well, you shouldn't be dating dudes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Okay. Let's say you're straight. So you're 32 now and your last relationship was when you were 23. That's not a career thing. No one's career.
Well, if she were, for example, if she were going to be a certain kind of surgeon or a certain kind of specialist and an attorney or anything, that's a lot of work and a lot of time and dedication that you're putting into that. If you're telling me you're an advertising agency executive, that's a lot of time. There are some things that require a lot of time and a lot of climbing. What is concerning to your mother is, I'm going to tell you this, that your eggs are getting old. And if you want to make your mother happy, freeze a couple of eggs and say, okay, I've done that just in case you don't think you're going to have grandkids. I'm setting them aside. But I will do that. I just need to do this first. However, I'm asking you, at 32, you haven't had a relationship in 9 years. You may want to take a look at what's going on with you, because you're not working every day till 9, 10 o'clock at night, every day, 7 days a week, Saturdays and Sundays. Because if you are, you need your head examined. You got to be jogging. You got to be doing something. Even if you're meeting somebody, you're putting out vibrations to people that says, "Don't talk to me. Don't ask me anything," and then no one will. Do make some time. Forgetting the getting married part, but maybe you should see a therapist to say, "Why am I so focused on this to the exclusion of everything?" Now, maybe there are other things, and you're just not saying that. You may belong to some clubs or what I'm saying is you need to examine what's going on with you. If you have 9 years and don't have a relationship, are you having dates? Are you doing something?
Are you doing sex?
Something. But your mother is concerned with some good reason. It's probably because she suspects that you are putting out the "I'm not getting married, don't touch me," which is what you've said. But it's probably a little deeper than that. And it has to do with procreating, because your mother would like grandchildren. And I think that's
what it comes
part
down
of it. Yeah.
I've noticed that, at least since I've had my babies, that I smell differently when I sweat. Maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know, but I smell differently. And I don't love that. If I'm on set or if I'm on stage or if I'm doing anything like functioning in public and I don't want sweat stains or to be aware of my stinky pits, that's when I turn to Lumi whole body deodorant, because it keeps me smelling fresh all day. Lumi is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, under boobs, right ladies, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, your feet. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. How? Well, unlike certain traditional deodorants that may try to mask odor with a fragrance, Lumi is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. If you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off the starter pack. Use code Iliza for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code Iliza at LumiDeodorant.com.
A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu.
Lighter question. Kelsey Wonderful. Hi, all. I'd love to know more about the basics of Ronnie. Where do you live? Don't answer that. What do you do for work and hobbies? Favorite food? I'm not trying to creep. I'm just curious. Don't answer that. You live in Florida. That's enough.
Yeah, I live in Florida. I'm semi-retired. I just wrote a book. I always stay active. I've always had part-time jobs, of course. And I've put on a lot of social functions here and charitable things. I've done that too. Things that involve creativity, big costume parties where 200 people come fully dressed or they don't get through the door. Great themes.
They don't get through the door. And you've written 2 musicals.
I did that as well.
That you put on. Yeah. Question. So let's talk. So you're semi-retired, but I do want to talk about this. Everybody, and we have a lot of women that listen, but everybody experiences, I get a lot of questions about jobs. I'm not getting a job because people are sexist or racist or homophobic, but we never talk about ageism.
Oh, it's terrible.
And
it's terrible.
Go ahead.
I went for 2 jobs this year, and both of them, one job I went to Nordstrom's, and I met with the HR person, and she loved me. She was so excited. She said, "You know what? I could see you as the manager of the Estee Lauder department, and we have the Estee Lauder." Estee Lauder vendor coming in next week. This is the Christmas week. We have that person coming in, and I'd love you to meet her because you are perfect for this job. And I said, that would be great. And then she had me meet somebody else. She says, I'd like you to meet this other person here in this department. And then we'll set up the meeting for next week. I said, great. So I meet the other person. And somewhere in there, the woman says to me, and the woman is all of 28, says, so where do you see yourself in 3 years? And I said, well, alive for starters. But also I said, look, I don't want to run the store. I just want to work for a great company. I want to work for a great product, and I want to sell more product than anybody else. Well, that should certainly be great. I said, but had you asked me that when I was 40 or 50, I would have given you a 10-year plan. But now that I'm 70, what I'm telling you right now is what I want to do. I want to be the best employee you have. They didn't call me back. They didn't set up the meeting because they don't want you at 70 because they have to cover you for health insurance when you're in a big corporation. They don't want anybody who's 70. You just can't get it. She never gets that.
So 70. I said, lie. Lie about your experience. First of all, you have a college degree and worked in marketing at a real job. You had an assistant and everything all while I was growing up. You had a normal corporate job. Right. And then you moved away, and as people do are semi-retired, lie. Right. Just say your recent job was a year ago and I'm 65.
Right. 65 won't cut it. You're already on Medicare.
60. Say you're 45 and look terrible.
It's been an aging day. Yeah. That's a reality. Yeah. Now, if they find out that you lied, they'll fire you anyway. And once they go to other places where you work for references,
have them lie. Have them call me, and I'll just be like, oh my God, she was the best one on the assembly line.
The assembly line. Oh,
anyway, I say fake it till you make it.
The other one is,
fake your death.
I had another situation in a spa where the woman loved me and she said, this is great, and we'd like you at the front desk. Let me introduce you to 2 girls on the front desk now. Everything was perfect. The 2 girls at the front desk are 24. And when I asked them what product they recommended, she said, I like this one. And I said, why? And she said, well, because that's what I use. I said, yeah, but you're 24 and the clients are 60. I didn't get the job.
You asked too many questions. Jackie Beggs Hyde says, Ronnie, what's your skincare routine?
Oh my God.
A lot of people ask that. A lot of people think you're very pretty. And I remember we had a party and a friend of mine brought a date and you were there. And she was like, what is it? What's the secret to your skin? Is it avocado? And you were like, what are you talking about?
She was 12. It was so weird.
People want to know your skincare routine.
Part of it is genetics, but I just wrote something. If you're familiar with the play, Morning Becomes Electra, I rewrote something called Morning Becomes Electric, because that's what my morning looks like. I wake up, I plug in my Kindle that I used at night. I unplug my smartwatch and put it on my wrist. I go into the bathroom and I unplug my iPhone, bring it in with me to the bathroom. Then I take my electric toothbrush and I brush my teeth. And then I use my electric water pick and I water pick my teeth. Then I use a Clairsonic and I remove the night cream and the eye cream that I had on my face. And that's about it. It's all electric. Oh, and then I use an airbrush, an electric airbrush for makeup when I put on my makeup.
And that's if you're going somewhere. That doesn't take into account all the sunscreens and lotions.
If I'm going out to play tennis, of course, I don't just put on sunscreen. I put on the one with zinc so my face is white, which is really quite scary.
It's quite scary. But I think, social media would have you believe that if you buy a vitamin C serum, that's going to do it. These things help, but genetics are just a huge part. People always ask me about working out, and it's like, yeah, I do work out, but your genetics are, there are people who work out every day that will always be a little overweight, and there's nothing you can do about it.
People ask me about that. They said, what's your workout routine? I said, it's mostly genetic. It's reality.
Nobody wants to hear that.
But you can do what you can do.
That way.
That's the reality. Do what you can do. Get a little Botox, or you can get a little, whatever, plastic surgery. But at the end of the day, this is who you are. So
You're stuck with yourself. Anonymous, Ronnie, my mom is also a supportive comedian, mama. But how can I get her to trust more in my process? I make sure not to be offensive or derogatory, but I find it hard to run material or ideas by my parents because they're so protective of me. How do you handle the early days, and were you allowed to come to her shows from day one? Well, yes.
The answer is I was allowed to go, but geographically I wasn't going. Never run your stuff in front of your parents because they're not your audience. They're looking at your stuff. When there are things that Iliza says that I don't think are funny at all, but the whole audience is hysterical because they relate to her. She would never stand up in where we live here, where everybody's 50 plus, because that's not the same audience. They're not going to think those things are funny. Because
I think they'd think it was funny.
All right, yes, but
okay.
Comedy is experiential, and unless you're sharing the experience with your audience, it's not funny.
It's so mom that your phone has been going off this entire time and you can't figure out how to turn it off.
It's not my phone. It's coming into my computer.
From where?
It's the shit out of me. It's just coming.
But I think, she's asking about trust in my process. You have to say to your mom, like, this is my art and this is what I'm working through. You're going to make bad jokes and you're going to make disgusting jokes and you're going to make mistakes. And your mom just has to know that everybody goes through a period of that to arrive at what they want to arrive at. Now, there's also, maybe if she comes to a show and see, if I were making bad jokes and I was bombing, it might be different. But if your mom sees you doing well and sees people enjoying it, maybe that will give her some context versus you doing it in a vacuum. Right. Similar question, Audie Dale. How much did you worry about Iliza when she left for California? My son is in LA pursuing acting. I'm a worried mom. He's been there 7 years, but he is hustling all the time and even started his own production company. He's still waiting for that one break to come. Get in line.
Well, the production company may wind up being his full-time job. Is he sustaining himself? But how did you worry? Does he have any kind of a degree that would indicate to you that he should be doing something else? How do you how do you know that this isn't exactly what he should be doing? Unless he's calling and asking you for money every day after 7 years, maybe then it isn't it.
So she asked, how much did you worry about Iliza when she left for California? Not at all, really.
I didn't worry. When she originally left, she was in school. She was doing a semester there, a work-study program, although I wouldn't call it work or study, but basically I paid tuition and she made copies someplace. But she was safe. And there were times when she would talk about going out drinking for her friends that I would be concerned. I say, never walk out in that street by yourself. But I wasn't really worried about Iliza. I knew I could call her all the time. And,
Yeah, I don't have that. A lot of people are like, oh, my parents hate that I do comedy or they object to my choices. I never had any kind of conversation like that with my parents. My mom, I was always making money. Like, college was done. I immediately got a job. I always wanted to make money. I even had jobs in high school, right? I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to contribute. Right. And I always wanted to take care of myself as much as I could. And I remember when I quit my day job, I said I need to borrow $1,000, which I paid you back so I could buy a computer.
I don't remember that.
And I did. Well, then I shouldn't have paid you back because if you don't remember,
I would have remembered it if you didn't pay me back.
Right. But I never had that conversation. No, neither of my parents, my mom never said, or are you sure? It was just kind of never a conversation.
No, it wasn't.
It was always supportive.
When I sent you out there, I sent you out with like old furniture that we had and dishes and everything. So you had things. And in the beginning, I paid for everything for that year. And I said after each year, I would pay for less to kind of wean you off. So I paid for the rent and your car, and you had to pay for your food. And then I said the next year, I won't pay for your phone or whatever. It was little by little. But then as it turned out, after 2 years, you won Last Comic Standing. And that was $250,000 and a new car. So I didn't have to worry about that anymore.
But I did have a job that
Absolutely
whole time.
You did.
I had a full-time job. So there's
and
that.
Then you said to me, Mom, can I quit? Because I need to appear at midnight in the belly room, wherever it is they let you do it at midnight. And I can't stay up at midnight and then still get to work in the morning. And I said, too bad. You still have to do that. And you still did it. You still did it.
I still did it. A lot of sleepless nights. And then piggybacking off of that, your girl Kimba, hi Eliza's mom. What do you think is important when it comes to raising a confident and ambitious child? As a parent, how do you instill or nurture those traits? I'm not a parent. I just find the correlation between our adult selves and the childhood we had very fascinating.
Genetics. That's the end of it.
Go on.
Liza was always stood up on her own. She went away in so many things, to summer camp, to sleep away this, to do that. So she always was kind of standing on her own 2 feet.
Changed schools a lot.
Yeah, not deliberately. That was crazy.
Right, but still.
But yeah, so she always had to make new friends, and in another situation, and how do you? Well, what was the question? How do you raise her to be self-reliant, or
how do you instill confidence and when it comes to raising confident, ambitious child? I don't know. I guess it's kind of like we just did. I don't think it was ever a choice. I just kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. You were always confident.
Very supportive. Yeah, and supportive. Your parent, I wasn't going to be an Olympic swimmer, but you still supported that I swam. I wasn't the best, at anything, very few kids are, but you still go and you support and you encourage and you just let them
In fact, when it came time you wanted to play basketball and you were going to be entering in the 9th grade, and we went to hear about getting on the basketball team at the public high school, and the coach said, if I haven't seen your daughter at any of this basketball summer camps, she's not going to be able to play basketball. That was the time I realized you're so out of that school. And that was when you went to private school, because
not everybody has that option, but it's like, that's when we realized you couldn't make it on your own. So we sent you to a private school.
Well, Erin's mom did the same thing. She said, if I can't get my kid to do something as small as play basketball, that's the end. Got to do
right. Well, we'll just change the playing field. And the private school is competitive in a different way, just because,
competitive.
And also like it should be, I want to play basketball and I don't want to make it my life. It shouldn't be, well, you can't play at all.
Well, it was basketball at that high school was a very competitive sport. It was a huge high school, and whatever.
And there's that.
The thing is, you went to a private school, but the private school, the academic demand was so huge that by the time you got to college, it was like easy. I think that you learn more in your high school than you did in college, academically.
I think most of my friends that went to school with me would agree with that. Well, unless they went to a harder college, which is quite plausible. Lola Thundercat. As a mom and daughter duo, I wonder what I can do for my mother. She seems to be struggling with this newfound independence with all the kids being out of the house. She's a wonderfully kind woman, but I want her to engage with the world now that she has time, and she seems to have no interest. Any thoughts on what kind of activities we could do together that would both be relaxing and engaging?
Well, first of all, you called it newfound independence. Independence being a good thing, and she found newfound I'm alone, because she had a job and now she doesn't have one. And that's always difficult. Everything she did is no longer valued, whether she cooked for everybody or cleaned up for everybody or drove everybody or supported everybody in every team that they were belonging to or helped with every party. All of that is gone. She's launched all of you, and it's not a newfound independence. She lost her job. That's the reality. Now, is it your job to get her a new job? Does she have friends? I don't know. There's a couple of things that are not stated here, but she needs to find something. And maybe if you sit over dinner with her and just talk and see, she's right now, she's in a free fall. She's just free falling. And that's so scary. It's like when you're married to someone for 50 years and they die. Now here you are, you're 70. The person you slept next to for 50 years is gone. Now, I'm guessing your mom's a single mom as well. Did she say that?
She didn't say.
Because he may be gone too.
Single.
And he's gone. Right. Now she's got nothing. So she has to find something. And in order to negotiate her way through maybe a couple of dinners, maybe, she'll know, she'll find the thing. And maybe you just have to offer support for her doing it. You're not the camp counselor.
Speaking of being the person who always did everything for the kids, Casey Mort says, in one of Eliza's podcasts, she mentions a portion of your speech from her wedding about Noah becoming the person she will go to when she needs to talk. Remember the speech you gave at the rehearsal dinner? How you're not the person anymore?
Oh, yeah, right.
What helped you realize and come to grips with this as her mother? Do you have any advice for moms at this same crossword?
So sad. I remember I called the speech "No More Tears."
No more tears.
It was so hard.
Yours was almost the only normal
the other
speech.
speeches weren't worth it, really. I don't know what those were. No one really thought about it until they had to speak and said, what? Yeah, that was hard. And Noah is the person that you go to, but at the end of the day, I'm there too. Because you can't always talk to your husband about things. You just can't. And
also, a lot of it's boring, but you want to hear almost all of it.
That's true. That's true. I do.
I mean, I think about the amount of times I zone out when he's talking. So I can't imagine the amount of times he's not letting on that he's zoned out when I'm talking about girl stuff.
Right, he doesn't need to know that. You have to pick your.
He doesn't need to
pick your audience, and also sometimes what you're saying is not necessarily actually what you're saying. I think Eliza values a lot of the things that she needs to tell me, and sometimes if I'm just quiet, she will start talking more because she can't talk about everything to her husband. She just can't. He's not interested in it, and
he's not qualified.
And he's not qualified.
He's not qualified. Here's a quick one. Here's a quick burn. Can you ask your mother what I should do about my dad dating another woman and my mom hasn't been dead 90 days and we haven't been able to bury her yet? Am I wrong for not wanting to participate in that BS? Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, there's a lot of going on there.
Is she on display in the living room?
How is it 90 days and she's
90?
Are they?
It's not like a Jewish thing where you're not revealing the headstone. 90 days you can't bury the body?
It has no religion in this. The question is, why are they not buried? Is there some forensic evidence, like maybe your dad killed her and they're suspicious of that? I mean, why would you not be buried for 90 days? There's something peculiar there. But that may have something that may be something real. But the second thing is, men like to find someone else right away. They just do it
right away.
I have a friend that had ALS, and she had the ALS for, I'm going to say 6 months, then she died. The husband had the dog killed and found somebody else. Well, the dog was old and no one wanted it, and he didn't want the dog, so he put the dog down. And within a month after her death, he already moved into somebody else's house. Now, of course, one thing is saying to the woman, are you sure you want this guy? That he could get over it that fast? But the other thing is, no one mentioned the age of the mother or the father in this situation. When people are like 70, there's not that much time left. So your mom may have died. I don't know what she died of, but that's weird that she's not buried for 90 days. We don't know how long he went through her death with her. Like he had cancer for 3 years. He could have suffered all of these years, and now it's like, let me be alive again. So it's none of your business, zero of your business that your dad.
Unless the woman's a bitch.
Totally. We don't know that. And if he likes her, what do you care? Unless you're talking about some tremendous amount of money that he has that you may be cut out of. That was not mentioned yet. Okay. And
I think she misses her mom and she's like, who's this woman? Right. But your dad, he's got his own process.
Right. And when my mom died,
unless the woman's a bitch.
My mom died and she had gone through stomach cancer, I would say for 4 or 5 months. It gets you pretty quickly. And my mom and dad were married for, probably 30 or 40, at least 40 years, 45 years. So they were together for 45 years, no cheating, none of that. And then she died. And all of a sudden it's like there's a single guy out there. My dad was no prize. He was a nice guy, but no prize, didn't have lots of money or anything, but still he was a single man. And within 6 weeks, This woman found him and they started dating. And I asked him, I said, so what do you think, Dad? I mean, what do you think of her? And he said the smartest thing in the world. He said, she's not your mother.
Aww.
But he dated her. And when they were together, his face was alive all over again. And he was 70 and his face was alive. So I said, Dad, I got it. You need to be with somebody that's alive. And I'm glad that you're with this person. And so I get that you miss your mom. And I'm sure your dad does too. But he doesn't have that much time left.
No, I love that. Switching gears, work-related question, your specialty. Now, my friend Chris Porter, who's a fellow comic, very funny. My mom is very no-nonsense, brass tacks. Let's lay this all out. And he said, and I remember we went to a party and I brought my mom and I was like, oh, Chris, did you meet my mom? He goes, yeah. And within the first 5 minutes, she told me my car is a depreciating asset.
It was.
So, Iliza, Emily, Tianfu, the Chinese beast. I'm a huge fan, and you guys have really helped me to get through some bad days, so thank you. But I need some advice or maybe just some reassurance that everything will be fine. LOL. Okay, so I'm 20 years old and a junior in college, and my dream job is to become a physical therapist. I can't see myself doing anything else. My first year in college, I did really well. I was going to classes at my and working at my local hospital as a physical therapist aide. I loved every minute of it. It was the best job I've ever had. I was living at home and I wanted to transfer to a different university about an hour and a half away to try something new and move into my own apartment. Unfortunately, my first semester at my new school was horrible. Bad roommates, hated where I lived, hated my new job. It was a call center. Ew. I had 0 friends and was depressed. I failed 2 classes. So the next semester, spring of 2020, I retook and passed my classes barely. And now from messing up my GPA, I have just discovered that even if I get perfect grades in every class from here on out, my GPA will not be high enough for a competitive PT school application. So I'm stuck. I either stick with my original plan to be a PT by making some changes and trying to do really well in my classes from now on, or I bail on my dream job and go for a more realistic and attainable goal. My next best option would be to become a physical therapist assistant. They make significantly less than a PT, but the jobs are pretty similar, and PT school is way longer and super expensive. So having less student debt would be nice, but I don't know. There are some things that you can do as a PT that you can't do as a physical trainer assistant, physical trainer assistant. I guess I just really want to prove to myself and my family that I'm smart enough and good enough to get that doctorate degree. Any advice or just your thoughts will help.
I wasn't aware that physical therapy had a doctorate attached to it. That's complete news to me. But that aside, what it sounds like to me is that this might not be the job for you. Because if little things got in your way to the point that you failed some subjects, those subjects were not that easy for you. And if they're not that easy for you, this may not be the job for you. There's a test out there called the Strong Vocational Test. And they tell you, they measure your abilities in different things. And they'll tell you, for example, let's say you thought you wanted to be an engineer and you're female. They'll tell you the score you'd have to have on this test to compete with any men because it's a male-dominated field. I have a friend who has a son who wanted to be an attorney, and he failed the bar, and then he failed it again. On the 3rd time, he failed it, and then he finally decided not to become an attorney. At the end of the day, if you failed courses and your GPA is lower because you didn't like your roommate or you didn't like your situation, and with all that, you were not able to get your studying done, the studying required for this kind of job may not be something that really is natural for you.
But I also think, and this happens with everyone I know I experienced this in show business. Sometimes you put your head down and you have a goal for so long, and it's a goal you set at a different time in your life and you've run blindly toward it. And then you pick your head up and you're like, I don't know if I do want this anymore.
Or you want it, but in fact, it is innately not your strength. Now,
so I think if you really want this. You can't breathe without it. I say you go forth and you do what you need to do, and you learn from being derailed in the past and put your blinders on.
What does she need to do?
I think she's saying she needs to stay there, and she has to get like an outstanding. First of all, I would go to the school that you want to apply to for your doctorate and say, what are things that I should be doing?
Right, doctorate.
Maybe
She's
there's like
still in her sophomore year, she said. Didn't she say?
There's no way you submarined your career by just getting some bad grades freshman year.
Correct.
You're
when you're talking about doctorate, you've got to go through 4 years of basic college. Then you've got to go through 1 or 2 years for a master's degree and then going for your doctorate. So she's a good 8 years of school.
Yeah, I don't think that doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem because you flubbed a couple things. And what about people that transfer to different schools? I think you still have time if this is what you want to do.
But she needs to re-examine why she failed those subjects and what it is that happened in her environment that allowed her to not study or not pay attention, because those things can happen again. And maybe this type of studying and this type of subject is not for her. I remember when I was in high school, I had an aunt who traveled back and forth to Liberia because she was the secretary for the man who owned the diamond mines in Liberia. She was dating the Prince of Holland. She had all these exciting things. It wasn't like a secretary. I mean, this was a serious job. So I thought, I'm going to be a secretary. That's a great job. So for my first 2 years of college, I made sure to take all of those secretarial things. I studied legal secretary. And then in the summertime, I went out to work. And I hated it. I had to work twice as hard as anybody just to get my fingers to type as fast as everybody. And when I actually got out into the world, I thought, whoa, this was a big mistake. So I went back to college, of course, graduated in communications. Is another story.
Because it turned out your aunt was a call girl.
No, she was not. She
all right.
made a lot of money, but she was a secretary. And it was not for me. So it was not naturally something that I could do. The whole thing was a bad idea.
We get Gowessel. Hi, Iliza. Really appreciate your perspective, keeping family close despite political differences. I'm 39. I was raised in a conservative Christian family in Texas, and I've definitely moved to the other side of the political pool. I have a great relationship with my parents, and we seem to always have respectful conversations. My brother and I couldn't be more different. He's guarded and serious, where I am friendly and easygoing. He's 37, a firefighter, ex-military. Sounds super hot. And is completely drunk sounds right up my alley. And is completely drunk the Fox News MAGA Kool-Aid. Whoops. Normally, I would resort to clever banter and move on with my life, but he's raising my niece and nephew with the most absurd ideas. Last time I visited, we got in an argument because I asked where to put the empty cans, and he said he doesn't recycle because climate change isn't real. My question now is, how do I correct his absurdity in the light of the kids without causing a huge fight? I also don't want to add to his stress. He and his wife don't get along, and he already has high blood pressure. As always, keep up the great work. We love your stand-up at our base. I'm a flight RN. I think it's a registered nurse. That's awesome. And my friend and I wore hospital gowns with raccoons on a leash at your Vegas show. I remember that. Also, hello to Tian Fu from Ellie, my fur baby, who's also named after Eliza Doolittle. I love it. Okay.
Oh, I'm so confused.
I remember costumes. Her brother's super, I mean, you can be conservative and not be an idiot. Doesn't believe in climate change, and she's worried that he's raising his kids with all these insane ideas. She's like, what do I do without making it worse? He already has high blood pressure. He and his wife don't get along, presumably because the wife has a brain and he doesn't.
You can't change his high blood pressure. And that a lot of that is his reaction to things that he doesn't like or believe in.
That he can't control.
I remember here in where we live, which is very
Florida.
Conservative area, this person brought up to Wilson Bradshaw, who was the president of FGCU, and he said, I don't believe in climate change. So the fact that you're talking about that, you're losing me right now. And Wilson said, do you believe that the streams are polluted? And the guy said, well, yeah. He goes, well, then let's just start with that. So he created a space to say, look at all the plastic that's in the ocean. Look at all the garbage that we have. Let's start with the idea of cleaning up our house. And while that is not a climate change situation, it kind of is. So about recycling, we recycled in World War II. Everyone saved their tin cans to use them for bullets. nothing was thrown out because there's a limit to stuff. So it's not really about climate change from that perspective when he said what to do with the cans. You're not going to change him. And it's good that his kids can hear things that you believe in without being threatening, because I promise you in the kids' schools, they're talking about that. So the other thing is,
I think you have a chance to be a cool aunt and you don't have to deal with the parenting, and you can infuse them with liberal agenda like recycling, climate change, the fact that civil rights are an issue, and you can just drop these little crumbs.
It's interesting. If you look back in history, every single change that we've gone through was because of somebody from the liberal end trying to undo something that already existed, whether it's Black people getting to vote, whether it's women getting to vote. There's just anything that changed the ability of women to get
trans rights, gay rights,
the ability of people get it. But I'm not looking at today. I'm looking at way back that now, like no smoking in restaurants. There was always, or front doors of restaurants so that people in wheelchairs can get in. 30 years ago, unless the people who were activists about it made enough to do, it wasn't going to be done.
Right.
So you may not like these changes, but they're going to happen. It's just a question of how and how long and what time. There are women firefighters. There are women in the Army. Now, one can make the argument, well, they're not as strong as men, blah, blah, blah. Of course you can make that argument, but there's a place for women in the Army. There's a place for women firefighting. If they want to do it, they can do it. Now, you can say, I don't want to be their buddy, their friend, whatever, but they're going to be there, and they may save your life someday.
And by the way, there is extensive data. Of course, we should recycle, but we have so much trash that recycling actually is almost pointless at this time. I still do it. I still believe in it. I still believe in sustainable practices. So maybe you could just switch the gears of that conversation to, okay, well, do you believe in littering?
There you go.
Do what you can. And by the way, his high blood pressure, that's not your concern.
Right. And littering,
whatever.
Way back 50 years ago in New York, there was poop on the sidewalks because there was no pooper scooper law. And there was trash all over. People would throw trash out of their car window because no one really thought about it until they came up with it.
It's in Mad Men. It's a scene in Mad Men. They go for a picnic and they just throw everything because it wasn't a thing.
Then they came up with don't be a litter bug. And then they started putting trash cans out. No one would throw anything out of a window now. That would never happen.
It happened.
So things change.
And he's going to be left in the dust. He's going to be left in the annals of history, or he can get on board the change.
You don't have to be on board with the change. It's going to happen regardless if you're there.
Yeah, there you go. But wouldn't it be nice to be on the right side of history? We're going to end this podcast with one good question. They were all good, but one final. This is a good one. That came out wrong. Ariana Danielle, what are 3 things? You don't have to do 3. You could do 1 or 2 or 12. 3 things you know now that you wish you knew in your 20s. If I think about when you were born, how different the world is.
Oh my God.
Cell phones, dating, texting, media, the internet.
How about women driving? They didn't drive.
They shouldn't be allowed. Oh.
They just didn't.
Women didn't drive then. There were no plastic lunch bags. The refrigerator hadn't been invented.
No, what are you talking about? We had a refrigerator.
Okay, I don't know.
Not that one. I wish I knew how important finding mentors was. I wish I knew how to network with people who would help me get ahead as opposed to just stay the course, do your low-level job and not expect more. It took me a long time to expect more. As my dad said, who cares what you do? Because I wanted to complete 4 years of college, and he said, you'll type, you'll get married, who cares what you do? And I wish my father were more supportive of going out there and doing something meaningful versus who cares what you do, you'll type, you'll get married. So that would be one thing. Yeah, and the mentoring thing is very important. So I wish I had a father who valued me getting ahead in a job. I wish I found or knew how to look for mentors. And I wish I had been tested for my strengths and gone after that straight away rather than just concentrating on typing and paying off my student loan. That's what I want.
You hear that, physical therapist? Could take that either way. Well, I love you.
Oh,
and you might be the only podcast guest who arrived dressed up, myself included.
I like that little necklace you have on. Did you just make that?
I made
that from
it.
$1 million worth of beads you bought?
I did. I'm into jewelry now. I make like a couple of them every night. It's not the most expensive necklace I own. I made these bracelets too. Well, and if you don't watch it, I'll make you one. Okay, so it's time for Mom. Do you know what time it's for? What time it is?
Top of the Cob.
It's Top of the Cob. Would you like to sing the song?
Top of the Cob. You do, right? Something like that. And let's not fight.
Yep. Those are the words. You kick us off with your Top of the Cob.
Well, I was at the club last night having dinner, and they ask us all to wear masks when you're in the club, walking into the club, walking around, and then you can take it off when you sit down to eat, obviously. And we're sitting at the table, and a friend of mine came in with no mask, and he walked over to my table, close to me, and was like, I'm going to step back a little. And I said, where's your mask? And he said, it's optional. It's not optional. And that's what he said. So my Top of the Cob was not punching him in the face. my bottom of the cob is I wanted to.
Oh, that's not a bottom. I think that's a top. Feel real good.
That's all my bottom.
I love that. Well, really trumps my top and bottom of the cob. I tried to go non-corona related. My Top of the Cob is, and you don't get it as much here because California is a desert, but that smell of summer when it has rained or it's going to rain combined with grass. It's a very like barefoot summer smell. It's like a thick naturey smell. And usually you can in Texas, you can sense the electricity in the air and they don't really have that here. But I love that. I love it and I miss it. My bottom of the cob is someone on my block gets cups of coffee postmated to his house. And I think it is incredibly wasteful, a carbon footprint, offense on every level, and disgusting. It's one thing to patronize a local restaurant. I'm pretty sure this comes from a chain, but that is the epitome of lazy. And I hope he goes. Do
you have an old coffee machine that you could give to him? Saying perhaps, just go over with that and say, I was thinking maybe you don't have a coffee machine, so I got you this.
Nope, I'm not doing that. I've given him chances and it just bothers me. And so what I do is whenever I see the Postmates driver outside, because they can never find his house, just like they can never find mine, I say, who are you looking for? And they say their name and I just go, ugh. And then I point so they can find the house. I don't want the Postmate driver to be put out, but I always get in my ugh. And the Postmates driver love it because it's like, oh, we're making fun of the rich guy. And we bond on that together. Ugh.
Is this the same guy that has stuff delivered and he wasn't even home?
Yes, don't get me started. He had a whole box of Daily Harvest delivered, and because they sponsor the podcast and I know how long it takes, he let it sit outside, and I took that Daily Harvest and I kept it. I put it in my freezer.
Did you give it to him finally?
And I was like, I left him a note. He never came for it.
Jeez. Maybe it's just...
I think Noah gave it back.
Maybe a megalomaniac or something. He just has to keep buying stuff.
Maybe, but what a waste. Mom, do you have any parting words of wisdom? I love you very much, and we should have you back on the podcast.
I love you more than you can know. That's Olympic.
My mom leaves me notes. That's what
Olympic.
Is it? Olympic. I love you so much. I can't take it. And she puts them. Oh, more than you can know. And when you die, where did you say you wanted me to put your ashes?
In your underwear drawer. No, I said you have to share my ashes with Ben.
Sure. He's got to come get them though. You're my mom. You don't really have social media, but you do have a book that you've written and it's called Second Wind and it is available on Amazon. It's gotten over 100 reviews. People really love it. And can you give us the log line, what the book's about?
It's funny. what's interesting about any book or any joke is how you tell it. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, if you think about Romeo and Juliet, it's a boy and a girl from two families that hate each other. And because of that,
it's just two Italian horny 14-year-olds. That's all. Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, because the parents hate each other, such a thing happens and he dies. And as a result of that, she kills herself.
No, don't spoil
it.
The
point is, you go, oh, so that's the story. That's the same as the Hatfields and the McCoys. That's the same.
Okay, so you know what? It's Downton Abbey meets Bermudian multi-generational wealth with an American story.
The point of it is, it's not what the story is, but how you tell it.
And that can be applied to life. So check out Second Wind, written by my mom, Ronnie Antik, on Amazon. I love you.
Thank you, sweetie.
And enjoy your dinner.
Thank you. I will. Bye.
It's time to have your high five moment with High Five Casino, the top social casino where the action and real prizes never stop. Fun spins and big wins are right at your fingertips with over 1,000 games, including High Five Casino exclusives. High Five Casino is always free to play with free coins given out every 4 hours. Sign up today and get free welcome coins you can spin for a chance at cash prizes. Visit highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.